Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be creating two cards that were designed by design team member Francine, and we're going to be using products from the new November 2017 release. So for the first card here, we are going to do all die cutting. So I'm using the new Layered Snowflakes Dynamics as well as the Stitched Mod Rectangle Stacks Dynamics. I've already done all of the die cutting just to save a little bit of time. So you can see there I have a bunch of snowflakes as well as the largest Stitch Mod Rectangle. And I've die cut that whole entire set of the layered snowflakes twice from smooth white cardstock. So on screen I have two of every snowflake that's available in that die set. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pick and choose different snowflakes. And I'm going to use liquid glue and I'm going to adhere these directly onto that panel. This is going to be a tone-on-tone white card, so there's going to be no color at all on this card except for the sentiment that we're going to do in gold embossing. So I'm going to just adhere all of these snowflakes until I have the entire background completely covered. This is a beautiful way to make a really simple card, but also make it look really elegant and detailed, even though it's completely one color and it's just simply die cutting and gluing all of those die cuts to the panel. So I'm going to let this speed up while I add these on. I did want to leave it in to kind of show you how I kept adding the snowflakes to the panel, but it does take a few minutes to kind of go around and add them all in there. So I wanted to kind of speed it up just to save a little bit of time in the video. So what I like to do is I like to take the largest ones first and kind of figure out where I want to place those just to make sure that they're going to fit nicely onto the panel. And then once I have the largest ones placed, I just take the smaller and medium ones and just kind of work my way around and fill in all of the spaces. And snowflakes are really great for this technique because you can easily kind of tuck them in between each other and they fit really nicely. And then if you have any areas on the outside edge, you can just add snowflakes just to the edge piece because we're just going to cut off all of the excess anyway, so it doesn't matter if we have any hanging off. So once I have them all added here, I'm just going to press down to make sure they're really adhered, and I like to give them a few minutes to make sure that that glue is fully set before I start to cut off the excess. Once that glue is done, I'm just going to take my scissors and I like to flip the panel upside down so I can kind of see exactly where I need to trim. And then I just go around the whole entire panel with my scissors and cut off all of those little extra pieces. Once we have the panel completely finished, we can go ahead and create the sentiment that we're going to add to the card. So I have the hand-lettered holiday stamp set, and this is a beautiful stamp set that has a lot of really big, beautiful scripty type sentiments, but it also has some really tiny sentiments that work great for cards where you kind of want to have a little bit of a smaller sentiment. These little guys here work really great for that. So I stamped the word Christmas onto the panel right at the bottom edge there, and I used Versamark ink because I'm going to heat emboss this with gold embossing powder. So once I put the embossing powder onto that ink, I'm just going to use my heat gun and I'm going to heat that up to set that embossing powder. And what that does is it leaves us with this really beautiful sentiment that has a nice shiny metallic look. Now I know I want to have the same sentiment for the second card, so while I have all of the supplies already out, I'm going to go ahead and do this a second time and stamp that word once again, heat emboss it with the gold, and then trim those both out into thin strips. I want them smaller than I have them here, so I'm just taking my scissors and cutting off the ends of each of those. And then I have a little sentiment that's ready to go on our card. I really love how Francine chose to go with a tiny sentiment versus something a little bit larger. I just think it really helps to let the focus of the card stay on the beautiful background that we've created. So to adhere the sentiment, I'm just going to put a little bit of foam adhesive on the back of that little strip. Then I'm going to adhere it to the center of a snowflake. And I've also added that panel to an A2 size top folding card. So now we're going to move on to the second card, and for this one here we're going to do all stamping rather than die cutting. So I have the Snowflake Splendor stamp set, and I've also die cut another one of those panels using the Stitch Rectangle Mod Stacks die, and I'm just going to do a bunch of stamping with the snowflakes. Now I opted to use my MISTI for this just in case I needed to do any second stamping, but I ended up only needing to stamp all of the snowflakes once, so you definitely don't need this tool to do this. You can just use regular acrylic blocks to do all of your stamping. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place my largest snowflake first, and then I'm just going to kind of work my way around the top left piece of this panel. And we're just going to create a pattern of various snowflakes with lots of different colors. And you can completely mix and match and use different colors for this design. I really loved the colors that Francine used, so I decided to completely replicate what she created. But you can definitely mix and match and use a bunch of different colors like pinks and purples to create an entirely different look. So I'm just going along here and adding all of the different snowflakes here, and I'm changing out my ink colors. And you do want to make sure that you are cleaning the stamp in between the different colors that you're using, just to make sure you don't have any ink transfer when you are stamping the new snowflakes. Once I had all the main ones stamped, I am taking just an acrylic block with a tiny snowflake here from the stamp set, and I'm just using snow cone and grout gray ink to add a bunch of snowflakes kind of mixed in with the larger ones. And I wasn't careful to stamp them in an open space. I just kind of stamped them anywhere because they are really light and it really adds to the overall design. Once I had the stamping done, I just added that panel to a top folding A2 size card base. And then I'm going to take that second sentiment that we created earlier and I'm going to add this to this card front. So I've trimmed it down just like I did with the first one. And I'm just adding a thin strip of foam adhesive to the back of this. And then I'm going to adhere it right through the center of that largest snowflake. And once again, we have that beautiful gold metallic on the sentiment with the snowflakes kind of cascading all around it. Now for this one here, we are going to add a little bit more detail. So I'm taking some Nuvo drops. This is just a really pretty aqua color. And I'm just adding some dots in various spots on the card. I'm just kind of picking some snowflakes that I want to add a little bit more detail to. And I'm just going to add these various dots. And once this hardens, it's a beautiful effect and kind of looks like crystals or gems on all of the snowflakes. So that is going to complete our stamped snowflake card. So now we have two beautiful cards that we've created, one with stamping and one with die cutting. They have completely different looks, but they're both beautiful and have just a really great holiday look to them. Thank you so much to Francine for the card designs that we were able to recreate in today's video, and thank you so much for joining me. I will see you in another video soon.